Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and my honorable judges. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Hanna and today I am going to deliver a speech entitled Verbal Abuse and Its Ultimate Damage. Have you ever heard about verbal abuse? Verbal abuse is when someone uses words to demean, frighten, or control someone. This abuse happens in intimate relationship, at school, or even at home, but mostly happens in intimate relationship. According to National Domestic Violence Hotline, 43% of dating college women experiencing violent and abusive dating behaviors, including verbal abuse, and reports from Global Report 2017 Ending Violence in Childhood recorded that 73.7% kids in the age of 1 until 14 experience physical abuse and psychological aggressions in the land of Indonesia. Now, people may put their attention on physical abuse, but what about verbal abuse? High rates of verbal abuse that occurs in this world are proof of our lack of attention to the people who suffered from verbal abuse. We need to put our attention to this problem because verbal abuse can make people suffer from depression, anxiety, and make people feel insecure. And the worst thing that can happen is it can lead to increased criminal and suicide rates. We all know that verbal abusers are using words to put people down. Actions like threats, hostility, rude remarks, spreading rumors, yelling, and screaming are common forms of verbal abuse, while blaming, denial, criticizing, undermining, and treating others like servants are lesser known forms of verbal abuse. Surprisingly, cyberbullying is considered as a form of verbal abuse too. Lately, cyberbullying become a serious topic to talk about on social media because there have been some cases about verbal abuse that lead to a suicide. For example, a member of Korean pop girl group named Choi Jin-ri, or better known from her stage name Suli, was found dead at her home in Seongnam, South Korea on October 14, 2019. Her manager told the police that she suffered from depression because people keep calling her ugly, untalented, and any other crude remarks because she known to speak about mental health, cyberbullying, and women's rights, which are uncommon among any other K-pop stars. This make her receiving a lot of backlash and intense scrutiny. According to BBC, she found dead without any evidence of foul play. Since she openly talked about her depression, her death has been ruled as suicide. Now we can see what verbal abuse can impact someone else's life. Now let's talk about why people can be so verbally abusive. According to www.hotplace.com, researchers have found that men or women become verbally abusive because they were abused as children and unconsciously turn off their ability to feel emotional pain within themselves and for others. Of course, abusers can have a mental disorder, but that can't be the reason to remove the danger the victim can receive. The same reason can be used for verbal abuse that happen in family. Intimidating words like swearing and threatening language, personal attacks like criticizing, mocking responses, judging opinions, and the blame game like everything that goes wrong is the child's fault are considered a verbal abuse too. But people didn't really saw this as a problem or an issue. People normalized this thing as a form of discipline their kids' behavior. They didn't realize that these actions didn't discipline their kids. These actions actually made their kids to become rebellious and going against their parents' will. They didn't realize these actions can make their kids suffer an anxiety, depression, making their kids feel worthless. A family, a home, they're supposed to show them what love is, instead showing how cruel the world is, showing that even the closest person in our lives can act so mean towards us. As I said before, people sometimes normalize verbal abuse and act to discipline to their kids, or they wouldn't know what verbal abuse can cause, because emotional pain or emotional damage are less visible than physical damage. People who are affected by verbal abuse will suffer from depression or anxiety and become unconfident. Emotional pain that came from verbal abuse echoes in a way physical pain doesn't. Memories trigger emotional pain but not physical pain. Recalling the moment your head got hit by a ball wouldn't make your head hurts again, while recalling when someone calls you useless will make you feel a substantial emotional pain. Those pain could lead to the worst end, suicide. Besides, people who get verbally abused may also do some negative ways to get rid of the emotional pain, such as drinking, alcohol, or consuming illegal drugs, which could lead into some cruel things, such as raping, murdering, stealing, and any other bad things just because they can't think straight at the moment. This is why verbal abuse can be much more destructive than physical abuse. Now, there might be laws and constitution to control about use, especially verbal abuse. In Indonesia, according to Allied Business Academy's Law on the Elimination of Domestic Violence, number 23 of 2004, has implicitly declared to eliminate all forms of violence, especially domestic violence, and declares it to be a violation of human rights and crimes against human dignity and forms of discrimination. But even though there are already a law to control about verbal abuse, we can see that verbal abuse still happens a lot in Indonesia. So if the government law isn't powerful enough to stop verbal abuse, how do we get out of verbal abuse then? First, seek support and receive the support with trust. Having someone understand what are we going through and knowing our true self give a powerful healing. Second, know your worth and use your heart to guide you, whatever the inclinations are. Take any actions that necessary to boost your trust, because what works for one person may not work for the other. Third, forgive yourself for letting someone treat you badly and enabling demeaning behavior. And last but not the least, be happy and remember love. Smiling and laughing can help you to brighten up your heart. Being around people who makes us laugh, watching funny movies, being around people who are happy can help us realign to our inner self. To overcome an awful experience such as verbal abuse can be hard sometimes. All of the emotional pain that torture us will take a lot of time to heal. That is why verbal abuse is more abusive than physical abuse. For people who has been through verbal abuse, I know you're strong and tough. I believe that all of the problems that you face will make you stronger, and when the time you are free from the emotional pain, you learn to face the problem and not run away from it instead. And to remain free, remember the love, talent, and dignity of the personal spirit that you are. And as Princess Diana would say, when you're happy, you can forgive a great deal. Thank you for your attention, honorable judges. I hope my speech could give a great impact to raise awareness of verbal abuse, which is dangerous. Have a nice day.